This Rome Total War commentary video is the final of the Quest for Elsyium Tournament that I, Cluny the Scourge, hosted on the 8th of February 2009 and was promised as a prize for reaching the end of the competition. Here you see me, Cluny the Scourge, playing as the Seleucid Empire, and I've taken 6 units of archers with the gold weapon upgrade and 4 units of phalanx pikemen unupgraded, and I've split those into 2 wings of 3 archers and 2 pikemen each, all on loose formation, with the pikemen deployed in 3 ranks overlapping the front and rear of the archers to protect them, while they have been kept off skirmish mode so they'll stay in place when the enemy attack. In the centre I've placed my cavalry 5 units of cataphracts with the silver weapon upgrade. The 2 pike archer wings fill a lot of space to hold the enemy's attention while the cataphracts manoeuvre to strike. It's basically a bluff, the wings are too weak to pose a real threat by themselves. My opponent in the final was Loki, also known as HarlotsEvisceration. He was playing as Numidia, and he took 2 units of slingers, which he deployed on loose formation in front of his line, 7 units of archers with the gold weapon upgrade, 7 units of Numidian legionaries with silver upgrades, and 1 unit of mercenary war elephants, the riders of whom sit astride their mounts' mighty trunk-wielding heads, hands on hips, in an alarming, thrusting posture. They look very proud, cocksure you might even say, as if showing off their manly immensity for public admiration. Best to just creep away from that, I think. From his deployment, Loki's plan is identifiable. He wants to use his archers to provoke me into a frontal attack that will then snag on the loose formation slingers in front, so they can be devastated by massed pillar throws from the line of legionaries behind. He can then finish me with a charge from his elephants, or else use them to counter a cavalry flanking manoeuvre. So I resolve to avoid Loki's elephants and also his slinger snag line, and send my cataphracts around to the right, since I see his elephants heading over to my left. The elephants pose a very significant threat to the Seleucid army. If they strike the cataphracts while they're fixed in place, they can crush them like toys. Loki rushes his whole army forward so as to bring all of his missile troops within range of mine, including those in his rear rank. I can't return fire and shoot incendiary arrows at his elephants to make them run amok at the same time. Once he has my attention diverted in this way, he's going to call my bluff with his elephants, swinging in on my left so I can't at first use fire arrows from my right-hand archers against them. Travelling back in time a few seconds, let's watch my cataphracts as they flank the enemy army during those last manoeuvres you just saw, keeping well away from the elephants. No horseman is going to stand in the way of such fearsomely dangling riders. I hope showing it off is all they want to do with it, because I don't think they make contraceptives big enough for those things. Whatever their sordid designs for the post-battle scenario might be, we will now witness Elephant Assault Plan Alpha 6-2. This use of his elephants was actually pretty risky, because elephants have a tendency to become overawed by the concerned of number of enemy morale effect, and to rout, because there are only 12 in each unit. Those Seleucids look a little under the weather, but Dr. Elephant has the prescription. Just lie back and the pain will be over soon. The soldiers making up these pike archer formations are flattened like 9-pins. Watch the top right and then the centre of the screen. This guy gets spectacularly hurled through the air. He's not the man they think he is at home. Oh no, he's a rocket man. It's the apocalypse! Game over, man, game over! I tried to knock out the enemy archers without engaging their infantry and getting bogged down by them, but Loki manoeuvres and skirmishes to make it awkward for me. I end up thrashing around after a single unit of archers that peels away, getting separated from the rest. All the while I'm losing valuable time while his elephants are making a mess of my pike archer formations. Loki switches to incendiary arrows against my cataphracts. That makes sense. Less accurate, but against such a mass of a target he can be pretty sure of hitting something anyway, and it has a more devastating effect as well as starting to work away on their morale. To hasten the destruction of my pike archer formations, Loki now detaches 2 of his legionary units to assist his elephants, and between them they squish first my left wing, then my right, like boiled eggs being ground into a paste for their sandwiches. Seleucid on wholemeal with extra mayo. Savour the creamy goodness. I don't know if you can make it out on the video's soundtrack, but my men are shouting, "We're being attacked!" The guys hurtling through the air are presumably snorting, "Your powers of deductive reasoning astound me, Holmes." I can't believe how much fun these elephants are actually having. They think it's Christmas. In the meantime, my thrashings around in the rear haven't achieved a great deal. This isolated archer unit gets crushed by 5 units of super heavy cataphracts, making a gruesome crunching sound, much like stepping on a cockroach. Back over on my left, you're going to witness the pitiful ruins of my wing there in flight from the Numidian legionaries. One bedraggled set of pikemen from each wing will in fact regroup and head back, as you'll see. The Numidian elephants are at some distance, and their infantry have been partially split, but as soon as those wings are completely destroyed, they'll be heading back to rejoin their comrades. In other words, I'm never going to get another chance. I'm not happy about it, but I have to charge my catters right into the enemy infantry now, and hope I have enough numbers to outflank and finish them before the elephants can come back. So, I slam them home and switch to the ult attack with their maces. The legionaries almost contain my cataphracts while they're bombarded, and the elephants detach themselves to come back. Almost, except for one. Without those 2 cohorts that were sent away to attack the pikemen, they don't have the frontage needed. I've created a little instant replay effect of these men's painful deaths for your viewing pleasure. Amidst all this horror of the battlefield, do the pitifully few survivors envy the dead? No, probably not, because they've just remembered if they get home now, they'll be the only men left in their villages. Finally, after all these years of rejection and disappointment, the chicks will have no choice. Even that saucy piece with the hot legs who turns them down 3 times, and threatened to call the police if they didn't leave her alone. So, over from my right wing, the elephants have been starting back, as you can see. At the same time, thanks to Loki's economical use of his elephants and those 2 units of legionaries, my diversionary double-winged anvil hasn't lasted a fifth as long as it usually does when I use this strategy. The smackdown is laid. In the famous words of perhaps the greatest general ever to command in the pages of history, Julius Caesar himself. Boom shakalaka, boom shakalaka, boom, boom, boom! Back in the rear, the outflanked legionaries are being annihilated. There's still a tangle of archers about to slow my cataphracts down, and you'll see how very close it was for me as the elephants later arrived and instantly squashed the rear lines of horsemen they could catch. But they were just too late and so struggled to make any decisive headway. I think that if those 2 legionary units sent against my left wing hadn't been dispatched, there would have been more legionaries to contain my cataphracts long enough for the elephants to arrive, and the results would probably have been a very sad sight to see. What is that 2-cohort expeditionary force actually up to at this point? Well, as I mentioned, a handful of my pikemen regrouped. What you'll see is that a pocket formed between phalanxes on either side, shaken but still standing. The legionaries try to squeeze their way through as the pikes keep the riffraff at a distance, and the battle becomes a personal matter as the 2 rows of jeering faces line up against each other. E.g., you fight like a dairy farmer. How appropriate. You fight like a cow. Loki has now neutralized the threat posed to his elephants by my incendiary arrows by crushing most of my archers. It's alright though, because in the frantic confusion, Loki shoots fire at them for me. That's right, these fire arrows are coming from his own men who are still on incendiary mode, and it's just enough to tip the elephants over into running amok. This is a small godsend for me. Numidia still has enough archers left to finish whatever pitiful remnants of my own might regroup, and I would still have to reckon with those elephants somehow. At this point, the elephants lose patience with their human masters and say, "Blow this for a game of soldiers. Let's have a party." More jeering goes on across the pike lines. I have to admit it, you are better than I am. Then why are you smiling? Because I know something you don't know. What is that? I am not left-handed. All forces end up converging here, even the Numidian archers in final desperation. The final engagement with these trapped legionaries ends with the satisfying sensation of squeezing an overripe pimple. The fleshy little popping sound as the gooey yellow pus disgorges so stickily from within. So this was the final of the Quest for Elsyium Tournament, in which there were 12 contestants and 30 battles fought. I was the overall winner of the tournament, and Loki took second place. I cut the whole world in half for the #1 headband, Quest of a Lonely Soul on a Lonely Road. Well everyone, it's been real. This was, however, almost certainly my very last Rome Total War battle video. No more from Cluny. So, don't you forget about me as you walk on by. Will you call my name?